Welcome to MK60 with MK. Finally, guys, episode 2 is out. I know we've been waiting because episode 1 was quite a while ago, but obviously we've had to cook for episode 2 to be out. So in Brazil, they take a bit of time, and we actually almost postponed this episode 2, but we had to make it today because we've got a Kaizer Chiefs supporter. Next to me. So they played one game, they've won it already. I think they're top of the table. So it's very important then for my next guest on episode 2 that let's rather have them now since they're happy and they're in jovial mood. Let's rather have them.
Yeah.
Next to me, I've got Speaker of Makana Municipality, Mabuti, Matyumza. Speaker, welcome to MK60 episode 2.
Thank you very much. Greetings to you.
Yes.
And greetings to the viewers as well. Yeah, of course, I'm happy to be here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking forward to our discussion.
No, it's great to have you here. Because, like I said, you're a huge Chiefs supporter. So
I am.
It was important to have you then here right now because hey, you're flying high. You're flying high.
Let us not go there now.
Guys, MK60, like we said when we started, it's informative. We want to be as informative as we possibly can. So that's why the first episode, obviously, everyone still remembers it. It was with the executive mayor. We've got the speaker here now. So we know how important his office is. Speaker.
All right.
Can you tell us about the importance of the speaker's office?
All right. No, thank you very much. I think, firstly, let me start by saying, look, before the office, we serve the institution, which is local government. Mm-hmm. And local government originates from the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. And I think it's Chapter 7 of the Constitution, Section 151, subsection 1, 2, and B, which talks, among the other issues there, about the objects of local government, which give the mandate to the offices in terms of their role and what is expected for the execution of our responsibility. And I always want to start with that because we've got a constitutional obligation as the office, and that mandate derives from the community, from the masses, through a democratic process where people elect their leaders to lead them in government. So basically, when we arrive in government, we are arriving with that background. So when we are saying that we are a Makana Municipality, we mean that we are a state, we are an institution which is obliged to adhere to the constitutional obligations. And in this case, Makana Municipality is a Category B municipality, which is an executive type of a municipality. So in an executive type of municipality, you will have the executive mayor and you will have the speaker. They are both important because they've got different mandates.
Of course.
The mayor is the lead of government, is an executive mayor, is in charge of governance. So the speaker's office is an office which is entrenched with responsibility of being a legislative arm of governance. So in a legislative arm of governance, The office will be responsible for public participation. The office will be responsible for Section 79 committees of council. The committee's office will be responsible with the responsibility of enforcing the accountability to the executive. In a form of driving the delivery to the people through its executive as a leader of government. But mostly important, we are a legislative arm of governance overall in terms of the institution. So we are obliged to deliver and make sure that we are actually executing our responsibility within the framework of government. And it is that responsibility that the Speaker's office will always give that particular perspective. But mostly important, we are also responsible for the council business.
Yes.
Because a council in the institutions such as local government remain as the highest decision-making body. Because it is when all political parties are coming and discuss the affairs of the institution.
Of course.
And we are responsible also, of course, to also make sure that the standing rules of council, bylaws and everything are actually enforced through the office. The constitution of establishment of ward committees,
yes,
stakeholder management and so forth. So it's quite a complex.
So it sounds like you've got quite a task in your office.
A lot.
We've also seen a lot of the times, especially at national in parliament, where the speaker during a session, there's a lot of howling, and you get like certain people being like point of order, speaker, and all those things. Do you experience something similar for someone who's never been, say, to a council meeting? How difficult is your task in there?
Look, I think it's all about the management of your council. For example, if your council members, they are empowered in terms of understanding the standing rules of order of the council.
Sure.
They understand not only in paper, but the interpretation of those standing rules.
Yeah.
When they come in the council, they will understand that when they speak and articulate their points, it must be within the framework. So meaning that one of the key responsibilities that as a speaker that I always practice in my council meetings is that I will always make sure that I act impartially, such that when I am sitting there conducting meeting, I'm not seen as a person who's having a side, a partial person.
Yes.
So generally, I have not expressed. Of course, when we started the council meeting, like you will have people who are coming in council, wants to copy other things at national and so forth. But once they understand, from first meeting, second meeting, you can allow them, but you also, as the officer, have a responsibility to go with them and try to empower them in understanding the standing rules of council, because that's what guides us. It gives us, it empower us, in terms of understanding. But we've got a stable council here, which understand that when you come in through political party ticket, in a form of a EFF, DA, ANC, Independent, MCF, you leave that at the door when you're entering in the council. Because generally, when we discuss issues of council, there's only one political ideology, and that ideology is an ideology of service delivery. And that we are common on that. When we discuss issues of water, when we discuss issues of infrastructure, when we discuss all the business of the council,
it has nothing to do.
There's nothing to do that you are
with
serving.
Affiliation
Exactly. So that ideological context, we always become common and put differences of political parties aside. But once things are degenerating to a point of party politics, then you won't have an order in the council, because one will say, I want to, my party, this and this and this. So in this case, of course, we're still doing well at the level of the council.
Would you say it is orderly?
It's orderly. It's orderly because as the speaker, I have not experienced a situation whereby I I subject councillors into, ethic committee to go and respond on some issues which are relating to conduct, and so forth. So it's quite ordinary. I think it's because sometimes I also do what is called political management before the council meetings, where we meet with whips before the council meeting and agree on the agenda, so that we manage issues from that level.
How difficult is that, agreeing with whips?
This thing needs art,
Yeah.
And the only thing to manage it, to not be difficult, it is when you are only inviting them when you are not pressed with anything that might, when you know there's going to be a problem.
Sure.
So if you've got a calendar that says, if my meeting is on the 30th, on the 20th, I must sit with them and say, this is an agenda that is going to be discussed. If they feel they want to add anything, they can add between 2 days, which is on the 22nd. Those things must be in my table so that we issue out the agenda. So that's how you manage it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying it needs art, because when you don't do that, and they've got another interest. When you meet with them at the level of the council, obviously you are inviting fire because you have not managed this before that. So sometimes the mitigation of any risk that may cause the decorum of the council, it's very important for the purposes of the management of a council business and so forth.
And we understand that local government is the closest sphere to the people. So in terms of service delivery, a lot of people look up to umasipala to deliver. And people would hold the council accountable. So if, for example, there's lack of service delivery and things are not going accordingly, you are responsible for that as a local government.
Yeah, you see, the experience I have in local government has actually, made me sometimes to even suggest that the model that we have in local governments needs to be changed.
Okay.
I'm raising this because this is the only sphere that is over-regulated to deliver services. When we talk about changing the model,
sure.
I'm not saying don't regulate, but I think to me it's over-regulated, such that you can't deliver services. I'll cite a typical example. Let's say if this bulb now, it just, it fused now.
Sure.
We'll have to wait for 7 days for a quotation to fix this bulb. I'm citing an example. But what happened and you must not do this bulb as an institution, you must go for a quotation. A bulb that cost 7 rand or 12 rand, you must tender for that. And this is a part of over-regulating that I'm talking about. That's number one. Of course, it's a very important sphere of government, because it's a cold face of sphere. Because nationally, there's no people that are sitting, there's no community at national level. It's just we have another sphere which is also regulated, in terms of the constitution. But the distribution of resources to local government, they are not actually equal to the demand in terms of the services that are there.
Yeah.
I can narrate. For example, you have what is called the division of revenue. In our context in the institution, we call it DORA policy.
Okay.
It regulates the grants that we're receiving from national to treasurer and all the other agencies in terms of the departments. And they will say, we are giving you for MIG, we are giving you so much money, and then on this money, it regulates that this is how the money that we are going to use. I will also practically make an example.
Sure.
We've got a serious problem of a sewer spillage in Grahamstown. And it's not that we don't know the problem. The problem is that you need to boost capacity to the bulk sewer that you have at the Belmont. Okay. And that project needs over and above 180 million. And you know, if you unlock and fix the bulk, you are going to attract investment.
Sure.
Which is going to give you almost more than that. And the grant that you will get will be 26 million. It will be 20 million. I mean, it means we are going to take 10 years to fix that problem. And in the 10 years we are fixing that problem, you are suffering at the back because there's no attraction of investment.
Investment, yeah.
You know, there's nothing enhance people to come and actually invest in your city because of these problems. And at the very same time, there's health hazard because the population is growing.
Of course.
Let me tell you something. After 2008 and 10, and going to 11, we have seen the mass roaming, you know, in fact, of informal settlement in Grahamstown, in Makana in particular. And it is a result that most of the farm areas around Makana were actually sold to private game reserves. And people were thrown out in those farmers to come and stay in here. To an extent that we've got almost about 28 informal settlement areas, in which one area in a settlement in Nganini is having about 5,000 people.
And you think that puts a strain?
And that's put a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Even to the infrastructure that we have. So I'm simply saying, you will find a situation by that responsibility in terms of the mandate.
Yep.
It's also a responsibility of human settlement, who is not in the local government.
Local government, yeah.
You know, not because there's no collaboration of relationships in terms of government to government. They are. But the pressure within the sphere, it's too much.
Quite much. Now, I'm glad you mentioned that again, that the pressure in local government is quite much. Say, for example, now, I wake up and I am the president of the country. And the first thing I say is, you know what, in my cabinet, I want to make Matyumza a minister to deal with local government, which would fall under COCTA. Now, you've highlighted saying that you would change how local government is. You minister of COCTA today, right now, sitting there. What other changes would you make in order for local government to work?
Okay. I think that
you have that power. Use it.
Hey. So the first thing that I will do, basically, if I'm given that opportunity, of course, I will make sure that, you know, I'm appointing right people, not only on the basis of their qualifications academically, because we do have nice people with nice qualifications, but the problem that we have is the characters. You've got people whose characters does not fit the current situation in terms of the actions, and that is the biggest problem. So generally, appoint people with their competency, but also you must also look at the characters of people.
Would you consider political affiliation?
Of course, you've got to consider the political affiliation to lead the local government, because local government is a sphere which is belonging to the people. So, because the constitution allows us, you know, the good thing about the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa is that it embraced a partisan participation through by constituting elections. So there's no way that you can avoid that. But mostly important, when you constitute government, there are two things in the main. It's a political leadership and the administration. And the administration is responsible for implementation of the service delivery. But the political part is responsible to develop policies, drive delivery in terms of the interaction with the people. So generally, you can't avoid the partisan approach in any sphere of government, because you got to have a body that oversight the implementation through the administration. So you change the model.
Okay.
The model, when we change about model, I mean it. the current notion now in local government is that of thinking that we're running an NGO. And that is the biggest problem. We need to move to a point where we run local government to understand that we're in business.
Yeah.
Because most of the collapse of local government, it collapsed on the basis of the failure to generate a financial health in their institution. You can't deliver when you don't focus on the financial stability of your institution.
Speaking of financial stability of an institution, recently there was a report from the Auditor General.
All right.
And it's not looking good for this municipality. So, what would you say the root cause of it, of the Auditor General finding that things are not supposed to be how they are at this municipality?
Okay. I always say, when you read the Auditor General report,
Sure.
don't be only jumping the final conclusion.
Don't be selective.
Read the whole report.
Yeah.
Because when you jump to the final conclusion that says Makana Municipality has received what is called a disclaimer opinion,
Sure.
you will be misleading yourself. Not to say that there's different types of disclaimer. Disclaimer is a disclaimer, I agree on that. But if you look at the municipality currently, because I always define the audit report into two components.
Okay.
One, there's a component that deals with a qualification compliance. Then the other one, it deals with a financial qualification, which is, it looks at the systems, it looks at the reconciliations and other things that relate to finance. And the other one, which is compliance, it actually look at the municipality, whether it does comply in terms of compliance register, passing of bylaws, reviews of bylaws, which is the responsibility of the council. But now, there are costs that relate to that report, which among the other issues, if you read now, it talks about a much improvement in terms of addressing some of the other issues of prior years which were raised. Because the bad thing about the auditing is that it does not only look at now the period that you're in.
Yeah.
If you have not resolved issues of 2012, 2010, they are actually accumulating.
Yes.
You know, they are accumulating, and when you deal with it, you must not say, I was not there in 2012. But we must admit that we are coming for a culture of lawlessness, where you have no accountability and instability in administration for a period of 10 years in this institution. A culture where you didn't have an accounting officer for a long time, a culture where there was a political instability, and it is only now we beginning to see the stability under the leadership of the executive mayor in terms of the council.
Now, a lot of people would say, but it's been under the same political party, and they would feel that. Do you think then the previous administrations failed, and then now you having to take blame of those failures?
No. Of course, it is still the same political party is leading the organization. But the point that I was driving is that you are coming from a culture of lawlessness, which has been coming on the basis of, not because of lack of leadership, but because of instability within the administration component, of not having a CFO, of not having an MM. Because one thing that you must understand when you deal with these issues, because this is what we have actually enforced now, that look, people, one, must take responsibility and accountability.
Sure.
And I'm saying that culture was not there. Hence now we're simply saying, you got to hold someone accountable and responsible. Let's say in this case, I was mandated to call a council meeting. Statutory, I'm supposed to call a council meeting every quarter, and I'm not calling And no one is asking that why you didn't call the council meeting. It can't be. I should be held accountable.
Yeah.
That why I didn't call the council meeting. And it should not be ending there. There must be consequences.
With that report of the Auditor General, is there anyone held accountable?
Let me tell you something on that report. When we receive the auditor report, which gives us the findings, we always sit down and characterize the report and develop what is called a audit action sheet. In that audit action sheet, it will then say, these are about 285 issues that the AG have raised. And we will divide it and say, department and department attend these issues.
Sure.
But currently, we have observed that, no man, we are coming from 300 and now we're on 100 and something, meaning there's quite a lot of progress. But it still put us on the same position of receiving disclaimer. So it tells us
something needs to change.
Something needs to be changed, you know. That is why we have agreed, of course, that part of the performance agreement that we sign with the accounting office and the directors, there should be a clause that says you've got a responsibility to improve the audit outcome of the institution as a KPA, as a key performance indicator, such that when we measure the performance yearly, we're able to hold you accountable in terms of the responsibility that we have actually indicated on the KPA. So that when we look at the KP, the performance, basically, we are in a position of measure it based on the key performance indicators that we have put on the performance agreement. So I'm saying there's a new phenomenon that we're driving in the institution that push more pressure for the administration to deliver, because in my view, I think somehow they've been sleeping for too long.
Is it? And on that sleeping for too long part, let's go back to service delivery, because there was, we saw a recent protest by Rhodes University and other important stakeholders, which you did touch upon by saying if there's lack of service delivery, there'll be lack of investing in the town. Now, based on that, and having an institution like Rhodes University, an important institution for that matter, especially in our town, to protest and say, hey, indaba yamanzi isihleli emagxeni, because we have students that come from all walks of life in the country to study here, and it's affecting us. What's your take on that? I know it's quite a massive elephant in the room right now. You recently had a stakeholders meeting, and in that meeting, you and the executive mayor and the municipal manager addressed the community. You invited people to come through, and you mentioned something about workers working overtime and abusing that. Can you touch upon that?
Firstly, I think, let me say, I think it was so unfortunately for the citizen of Makana to be subjected on that situation for a long time, that where people didn't have water for almost about days, you know, solely because of the disagreement between the employer and the employee on matters that relate to overtime.
Yeah.
And I always say this was not supposed to be leading to that extent. And I mean it, I raise it in many platforms in the institution that, look, it's so unfortunate, but I think it has exposed also us as an institution in terms of the capacity to resolve issues.
Okay.
From the point of view of administration. Because this was not supposed to be escalating to the point where it actually invites Rhodes University and other stakeholders to come here and protest.
Okay.
And that is my view. Because an overtime issue is an operational issue.
Yes.
When we speak from the level of the council to say, please manage overtime, because we are not collecting as we wish in terms of the revenue. And we can't collect the money, but we pay a lot of money to salaries and we don't deliver for services. It can't be. It tells you there's a problem. Because the culture of taking, using overtime as a second salary has been there for quite a long time. And we've been calling for this, that investigate this thing. Because you'll have 5 people in a buggy attending a water leak. And when they claim, when they're arriving on that complaint, 1 or 2 people that are fixing that problem. But the whole buggy is claiming for the same job. Because some have been standing there. So it's so unfortunately for us to be subjected to that. But however, I think Rhodes University contribute a lot in terms of the revenue. They are a very important stakeholder when it comes to revenue in the institution, because they pay a lot for us.
Now, you're saying this has been happening for quite some time. Where does the buck stop with? Is it with the workers, or who is supposed to take accountability of this? Because, like you said, it's been happening for quite some time. It shouldn't be happening. So who exactly is to blame for it that it's been happening for quite some time?
At the moment, you've got a leadership. Because I don't want also to talk about administration things that the public is not interested.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. We are not interested on how we manage things. You're interested to open the water when you're arriving at home.
Of course.
And then you want to get the
and
water.
There's water, yeah.
So people who must be held accountable is the leadership that leads the institution. So we must be held accountable. You know, in the institution where you have workers, you've got what is called a collective agreement that regulates the mutual understanding between the employer and the employee. Special on issues that relate to water, because water is an essential services issue. And in terms of the collective agreement, you're not supposed to go to strike. And you're not supposed to sabotage. Because in the main, out of this were the elements of sabotaging, which raised number of eyebrows. People were coming down because of the sabotage. So that's why we're simply saying now, we want consequences around this.
Yes.
Because if the accounting officer is not acting on this thing, we're going to act on him. Because the public will already, there were some stakeholders simply saying that, vote of no confidence to the leadership and so forth. They are within their right to do that because of the services that they're supposed to get. They're not getting, in a manner that they're supposed to get.
Supposed to be.
You know? So generally, we take a full responsibility. And we want to appeal and simply saying that things are beginning to change now.
Is it?
And we should not be undermined in terms of our authority. I said to the accounting officer, when he was assuming the office, I said to him, if we are going to come in this office when we're appointing him and you don't step your authority within the day in question you arrive and you say you will stamp your authority in 10 days, you are late. Because workers are very good to judge you. They monitor you. They see your strength. They analyze you. Yeah. But from the day one, when you have stamped your authority, moving forward, people will know you. Who are you? They will know you. Because we must not undermine our authorities on the basis of expediency. Yeah. It can't be. Because once you allow that, and there's a new thing, which is also part of the culture, where people now, because of we belong to political parties, and when we are inside in the council thinking that this is my comrade, this and this, it cannot be about that when we are here. We'll be only comrades when we're outside. And we must be respected when we're here. If you know me as Mabuti, the chairperson of the sub-region in the ANC here and so forth, fair enough. But when I'm here as a speaker. I will meet you in the ANC in my capacity as a chairperson of the ANC here. So I'm citing an example. Sure. So there is that phenomenon which is a problem as we move forward in executing our responsibility. But we're not budging. We're not budging on this thing because we must leave legacy. Makana is not supposed to be subjected in all these elements because if you go around here, this city is a construction site. There's delivery everywhere. And we're being defocused now on the basis of the exogenous factors that are deriving from the elements of sabotage. And we cannot allow that.
Now, I know we've been talking about service delivery and the issues that have impacted it through the lack of that service delivery. When I spoke to the executive mayor on that first episode, I was like, a lot of the times people tend to look at the negative aspect of things. I'm sure there are positive aspects that this municipality would like to highlight, and she highlighted indaba ye James Klein Hans, the finish of it, and we hear that there's going to be an official opening of it. I'm very proud of that, and its effects that it's going to make. There've been successes, like I said. So can you highlight some of those?
Okay. One, I will start internally in terms of the council. Firstly, I think we must appreciate that the success that we have in this council is the political stability.
Sure.
And the administrative stability. That on its own is a milestone in the epoch of this institution. So that is an internal. The third one from the outside of the institution in terms of the service delivery is the achievement of the general challenge of water, of which of course that today we are launching the added 10 megaliter in terms of the demand that we wanted. You recall that we had a challenge of not meeting the demand in terms of the reservoir. And now we are launching that. It's not finished. We are launching the 10, but it's still going ahead in terms of the phase 3. Then the other one, roads in Makana, they were generally not even in good state. We even declare disaster on roads. And that is a milestone now. We have, Ngame is completely, now we're busy with with Makana Way. You can see Khalane and other areas and so forth. So the forecast now also is I mean, to me, the institution is beginning to address these things which were major for the community of Makana. And of course, it's not going to be an overnight. It needs some sort of focus leaders, who are clear in terms of their priorities as an institution.
Okay. MK60 with MK is a 60-minute podcast, and for us to discuss everything that's been happening, it would probably take 24 hours plus. But it would be a huge injustice if I were to not ask you this. Because I don't know when I'll have you next to me here, because who knows, Chiefs might lose its next game and you might not even want to sit to or talk to us anymore. Local government elections 2026 is literally, well, not a stone throw away, but we're getting closer to it. And at national level, we're witnessing a government of national unity. There's a coalition. Other people are calling it a coalition, and all sorts of stuff. What's your take on the upcoming local government elections? And if we reach what has happened at national government, what do you think the state of our institutions at local government, at local level, will be?
Okay. Firstly, the GNU is not a new thing in terms of a government approach in terms of executing some relations on service delivery and so forth. It's not a new thing. This is the second government of national unity in South Africa. You will recall the other one when the 1994 and so forth. Generally, local government basically is another sphere of government, very exciting because of if you look at how it is actually manage its proportional representation in council is different from national. In this case, that it's solely depending to the number of political party and independent that have actually voted you at the local level. But I don't see it here in our municipality coming. the ANC, if you want me to say, come 2026, it will go in local government, and I think it will govern as it governs now, because we're not in a GNU. Locally, ANC is governing on its own here. But if then happens that we don't get majority, because political parties, they've got what is called their own principles.
Yes.
In this case, national, province, and regions. So they will, they will tell the local leadership in terms of the approach of constituting a government. But currently, the JNU, in my view, is indeed a model that we can use, because it also manage the relations in terms of the collaboration of political parties and the stability, mostly important.
Yeah.
Look at now the rand in South Africa. Look at how the interest rate. It's so nice. It's very interesting. So, in my view, I think.
Do you think it's working? The GNU?
It's working at the level of national, in my view. It's working very well because there's nothing changed. The policies are still the same.
Yeah.
It's just that I will say in a very small talk, like without being loud, that it exposes us in some ministries, because the new ministers, they came in now, they are actually implementing things that we've been sitting in tables for a long time in some, and really to expose the capacity of the deployment of some of ours which were there, and that's an all. And I, from where I'm seated as a leader, I think it's something that we must be awake of as a leadership, not take it at the negative side, but it raise the conscious, that look, when you are delivered. When you are sent to deliver, you must deliver accordingly, and you must not sleep in your job.
Yeah. Do not sleep in your job. I know Mr. Sizzle Media right over there is itching to ask one question. Sir, I know you do. I know you do. Fire away.
I'm not in Canada, that's the thing. That's why I wouldn't want to ask a question. But Speaker, I will say, I will ask you this. I will ask you to do this. To reassure or promise the people of Grahamstown on this office, not even talking about the whole municipality, because we are here in your office.
All right.
I don't want to promise on other people or make promises on behalf of other people, or maybe, the mayor or the council. I wanted a reassurance from his office what it will do for the people of Grahamstown.
Okay. I think abahlali bonke balapha ekhini generally in Makana, not only in Makanda.
Yeah.
In Makana, they must know that this office is open. It's open for everyone. It's not a political office. It's their office for everyone. And the assurance that we can give them is that we've got a responsibility of making leadership to be responsible and accountable, and advance what is called good governance in a form of accountability through public participation processes. So when Uspika is calling a meeting generally across Makana, people must come in those meetings, because I'm bringing the executive to account on the issues that relate to the institution. So that is the assurance that I can say to people, that we are responsible for oversight, we are responsible for public participation, and we want them to be part of the office, because this office it's related to Chapter 9 institution, like your public protector, your human rights, and public and accountability offices. I've just recently engaged civil organizations from Rhodes University. We're trying to set up some sort of a program that goes to the community, just to give them the assurance that this government belongs to you.
There you go.
No spring. Just one last one. One last one.
Okay.
Social media only tells the good stories of Makana, if you ever notice, except for the one or two protests that involves everyone. I just want to say, invite us also when you are doing good. There's too much. I think the negative stories about Makana get so much traction, and it's the other thing that deters the people. It deters investment.
Sure.
It deters people just coming into the town. So I just want to say, we are here as the fourth estate. We are here to help the municipality, to show the good thing. So I get worried when so much traction, even before when there was the debate of the High Court moving from Grahamstown, and there were a lot of people saying a lot of bad things about Grahamstown, which are true, some of them are exaggerated.
But you don't hear about the good aspects of it.
Yes. So I'm saying basically that we are here, use us in whatever way, but use us. Of course, we're going to bill you, but use us.
No, Cesar, I think I must say that from our side as an institution, we have acknowledged that we need to beef up the capacity in terms of the communication side, and I think moving forward, beefing up capacity does not mean that you must employ internally the capacity, but also you must have relations with the media houses, and perhaps sign something like called an MOU, such that the complements, which also may give a second opinion when there's a particular narrative driven by another component of a media house. At least they should be that relations. And I think as an office, we will sit down and talk, because this is the witness that we have identified, and I don't want to dwell much now. But importantly, I think we really appreciate as well the good stories that we're taking out. There's not even a news paper here internally that drives the positive achievement about the municipality. And I think volunteer yourself without anything, and because we are proud of having our own communication group that is there for Makana, which, because communication is a very powerful tool. It empowers everybody, even those who are not in the institution. So I think we'll talk even after this. We can talk.
Because Speaker, one of the other things you just said, communication is important, and it is really important especially when there's like lack of information. It's easy for people to be misinformed when there's lack of information. So I'm glad you're saying your door is open. You're open to being invited. And lastly, MK60, like I said, it's a 60-minute show, but we've got a Kaizer Chiefs supporter here, and so it could have gone further than 60 minutes, because who knows when we'll have him again. But Speaker, it's been informative. It's been good. Thank you for having us in your office. Last words?
Thank you to MK60. And I think, guys, it has been a very good discussion. And I'm always open for this discussion, whether through a free lunch or whether through a lunch, a real one.
We'll take it.
I don't mind generally, because this is the tool. that must be used generally and respond to this narrative that we're talking about. So I'm looking forward to another episode, whether it's in December, whether it's in what. I'm just citing an example. And of course, I'm really very happy, you know, at least.
Would you be open to having a panel, maybe the next one or the next, because we actually did think about having more people, like having a panel. Let's say now we have you speaker, and then we have say maybe someone from another political party, maybe we have a union rep, have a NGO, someone from an NGO, you know, from the community. But sometimes we thought about it, and, hey, they might not get along, but it's something that we did discuss. But for now, we're still having the one-on-ones. But I think as we grow, we will, you know, invite more people to have their different perspectives.
Would you be open to that?
I'm open for anything, because once we say we don't open it, would mean that there are things that we're hiding. You know, from where I'm seated, I don't mind. You can call anyone. You know, we're free for that, as long as you know your story, nothing else, and you know your line. You can call the union tomorrow, you can call Rose here, we can talk anything that has to do with government. We've been here for quite a long time now, so there's no way that we can't respond on issues and say we're not here. You know, even on other matters, it may not be government issues, it may be like your issues that relate to the attraction of investors in a form of calling LED, calling other. There's quite a lot of things that are happening here, Sizwe. Recently, I had a meeting with investors this morning at 8. I hope this is not going to be recorded, ne? Which I think they are going to build what is called the wind farms here, a 1.1 billion investment. When you go to, and among those things, there are issues of social responsibility. These are the things that we need to sit down, because these investors, they want to empower some houses that your entrepreneurs that are grooming, and we've got a responsibility to say these are the entrepreneurs that are grooming, nurture them, support them, and so forth. So that's number one. But in return for us, will be that of you pushing the achievements that relate to the municipality. Not to say it's a question of buying you guys by pushing things in terms of giving you. We have done this to Ukolile, Madinda, what is this, the Black Power Station.
Black Power Station,
We've done that. I'm proud to sit here and say, I've pushed for X. X is sitting in our building there. We've pushed him, we try this, and you know what I'm trying to say, you know? And when there's a new kid on the block now, we must push. And at that time, I think I was the chairperson of the LED at that time. So there are quite a lot of opportunities for you guys to push and even grow up from where you are. And you've got that responsibility. And that does not mean you must not be constructively on us in terms of exposing us, because you must not be driven by the fact that there might be fruits out of this, but you must be driven by values that drives your media, you know, without any deviations.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, MK60 with MK, that's a wrap.